All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show.
All right, I'm seeing you in double.
Oh, well,
I've got like stereophonic Barrett on the screen right now. Do I need to put on my glasses and see you in 3D?
this is, the red and the blue ones is how
I
you need
literally
to do
have you
that.
in two panels side by side on my screen, both talking to me.
That's interesting. Is it just one voice or is it coming through
Yeah.
in like,
No,
okay.
it's well, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's one voice, but it's definitely two of you.
If I move back and forth real quickly, does it merge? No, probably not.
Oh, I just took a quick screenshot of that. I'll have to flip that to you afterwards.
All
This
right.
system of yours is borked up.
Yeah, well, that's what we pay for. This is the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast with Zach King. You can find us on social media, me on social media at Barrett Gruber. With me is Bill Kimler, host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks. You can follow him at politicalbillsc. Good morning, Bill.
Which one do I look at? Stop.
I don't cross-eyed.
Are you a twin?
Oh God, the world doesn't need that.
Okay.
That seems like an awful thing to.
Kind of like a person who has a lazy eye, and you want to look that person in the eyes, and you have to switch between the two eyes. Which one do you focus on?
It's a regular Cash Patel and what's her name, governor of Arkansas, Henry
Huckabee Sanders.
Huckabee Sanders. Yeah. How was your weekend?
It was very uneventful.
Uneventful. Didn't go see any movies. Smurfs wasn't in your.
No.
you don't have anything negative to say.
We made a half-hearted attempt to go see the new Jurassic Park film, and eventually went, nah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And well, money well saved on that one.
But I am counting down the hours until the next Fantastic Four film.
Yeah.
The early reviews that I've seen have come in. Some of them are saying it may be the best MCU film to date.
Wow.
It's got nothing but high praise. They say it's everything that Marvel's been lacking for years right now.
That is,
and so
that is quite a statement. Because I agree with you. I think that the Avengers Endgame and the Infinity Wars, I think those were two for me of the best movies, but it was such an onslaught of characters and that was what I wanted. Like if you go back and you look at some of the comics from like the 90s where it was Avengers versus X-Men or any of the Avengers where you have X-Men in the Avengers, like you had so many characters that it wasn't because I also read like Spider-Man and Wolverine and those were just like, those were comics that were just one-off comics where it was just their character but like to have all of the characters all thrown into one, ultimately that's what I wanted, and that's what I'm looking forward to with like Secret Wars and stuff like that. But you know what? Speaking of comics, 2025 Soda City Comic Con is coming up August 23rd and 24th. You can get tickets at sodacitycomiccon.com. Big announcement yesterday of the next guest that will be headlining and signing autographs, taking pictures with people. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid is going to be at the Soda City Comic Con 2025.
Cheers.
I think that's an interesting one. Because so if you watch or listen to the podcast regularly, you will hear me mention my cousin Eddie. My cousin Eddie is actually my ex-wife's cousin, but he claimed me in the divorce. And I've always referred to him as Cousin Eddie, not even making the connection back to Randy Quaid's character from Christmas Vacation, which was Cousin Eddie. He's standing out there with the sewage line into the sewer system, the water runoff, and your shitter's full. So Randy Quaid. It's an interesting one. We had, and if you think so, to think back on it, so Randy Quaid was in the movie with Woody Harrelson and the other woman from Weird Science, Angel. Anyway, but Randy Quaid was in.
You talking about Kelly LeBrock?
No, not Kelly Brock. It was
Oh.
the TV. It was the TV series Weird Science.
Oh.
Vanessa
I don't
Angel.
know.
So Vanessa Angel
Okay.
was in. They were both in that movie with Woody Harrelson, the bowling movie, and so it's interesting that you have now Vanessa Angel was at Soda City Comic Con 2 years ago, and
Are you talking
now
about the movie Kingpin?
Kingpin. Thank you. Yeah, gosh,
The guy that had a
I couldn't
one
think of the
arm.
name.
He had
Yeah.
a hook for one arm, and it was a bowler. Okay.
Yeah. Bill Murray was in that one too. But so we had.
Randy Quaid was also in Independence Day, was he
Yes, he
not?
was. Yeah, he flew the.
Yeah.
He
So I
flew
mean,
the
he's
plane.
got the creds as far as a body of work that would appeal to Comic-Con nerds. I could certainly see him getting a line, but outside of his professional career are some dubious personality traits.
There's some political stuff in there.
Are you going to try to get him on your show? You're going to try to interview, and will you interview him politically?
I will ask him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we might talk about politics. Feel like, do you feel safe here in South Carolina, being that because I have to look it up, but I feel like there is a lot of he feels very. Again, I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm not 100% certain, but I feel like he is a Trump supporter. No, is that not true?
I thought it was like over the moon Trump supporter.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I think he's going. He's extremist. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a matter of you having to look that up. That's kind of a known fact.
Well, and Zach reminded me because I said, didn't he have to run? Didn't he run away to Canada for some reason? And apparently, yeah, he did. He was escaping vandalism charges. And I asked Zach, I was like, I said, well, that can't be valid. I mean, everybody hates Chevy Chase, right? Like, if you're gonna, I don't know. But yeah, so I'll ask him political questions.
All right,
we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Good luck.
Yeah, like I said, I may be remembering.
When is Comic-Con again?
23rd and 24th of August. It's going to be at the Soda City Comic Con. Is going to be at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. Again, 23rd, 24th. So Saturday, Sunday. So, but over the next few weeks, we've got several more guests. We are going to record an episode next Wednesday with Caitlin Robruck, who is the voice of Minnie Mouse for the last 20 or 30 years. And then the following episode, we're going to record with Donald Brock, who is the coordinator and operator for the Soda City Comic Con. So we'll have him on again. This week, we're recording with Dr. Michael Orkin, who is a Berkeley professor, or former Berkeley professor. He's retired, but he is a statistician, and he just recently published a book. I don't have it in front of me, but he recently published a book all about statistics and how he makes gambling easier and things like that. So it should be an interesting conversation. I have read through some of his notes on the book, and he talks about the that German what is it, cephalopod. What are the things that under the water that can't think? It's see, and you know what? You're right. Tuesday mornings at 5:30 is probably damaging our brains.
I don't know. We're 6 minutes in, and you're talking about German cephalopods under the water. So
yeah, it's a
okay.
It's the eight arms, and
octopuses have 8 arms.
Octopus.
Really, that was the word you were struggling for. What did it have to do with German?
So there is a German octopus that is in captivity.
You could remember octopus. You remembered cephalopod. You couldn't remember octopus, buddy. This is the point in your life that you need to go get some tests done. That's wild.
You're probably not wrong about that. But he talks about the this octopus that makes predictions and how it gets them right all the time. So we're gonna talk about that and how that statistician and statistics and things like that. So also want to remind everybody the Big Plant Expo is this weekend at the South Carolina State Fairgrounds. You can go to seраreplantmarket.com for tickets to that. There is no limitation on the number of tickets that they can sell. So go check that out. There's going to be a lot of influence. One of the influencers that's actually going to be there this weekend at the state fairgrounds is a guy named the Bearded Plantaholic, who is from the UK. And I started following him a while ago, even before um, I don't know. We had the people Rachel and Renee from the Big Plant Expo. That was our episode this week that dropped yesterday, and it was fun. We had a good time, and I think it's interesting. My wife is very heavily involved in plants, and her best friend is one of the vendors that's going to be there this weekend. So should be
So
a
now
good
you're
time.
down to interviewing your wife's best friends. That's where that's the part of the
Look,
barrel we're all scraping at. Look, ever since Lee Johnson canceled out on both of us, it was going to be an interesting interview, I thought. We're scrambling for guests, even over in Black, White, and Blue in the South. He was going to be the first guest that we would have when we return from our summer break in a couple of weeks.
yeah.
So he's off the table. So now we've not hired. We've got Ron Herman. Ron Herman did the artwork for the installation and user's guide to the garbage disposal unit that I have. We're going to learn about his entire career of artistry and trying to create diagrams that people can follow. It's going to be a really riveting episode, but that's where we're at.
Well, yeah, and I apologize for that. Lee, look, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I told them, I said, Lee Johnson, we were supposed to have him on last week. We were supposed to record with him, and we were going to talk about the campaign. I thought, and don't get me wrong, I understand that we're just some piddly podcast that doesn't, in the grand scheme of things for his campaign, it's really just it's a brick in the road. And I don't know why I use that cliche. It's not even a real cliche or an idiom. But when I contacted his campaign manager to ask about why, to make sure everything was set up and everything was good for the recording that night, he didn't really give me any good reason as to why they weren't going to be on. And I told you, and then you found the article where he had dropped out of the race. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, what would have been even better than talking to the guy that's running for Senate would it be to talk to the guy that just dropped out of the race for running for Senate? Like, that would have been like, talk to us about that.
Absolutely.
That would have been better. So I don't know. It's disappointing. We do have, you talk about guests and not having guests and things like that. I'll be honest. I think the episodes that Zach and I do together, even with Fry on, I think those episodes are more fun, and we get it's just part of recording with Zach.
Well, when you're not boxed into a single topic,
yeah,
you can just let the three guys chat and just go off in the wild. That is interesting.
Yeah, and we have one of those coming up
next
week.
I had a guest that I tried to get. This is a guy that I follow on Blue Sky, political scientist in USC, and he very prolific on Blue Sky. Big Kamala Harris supporter and very, very smart. One of the smartest guys that I follow on the social media. And I saw that he might be coming to Greenwood. So, of course, I reached out and said, hey, man, would love to have you on our podcast, spend an hour, just pick your brain on a couple of points. And he says, well, I'm hesitant to do so because of his position at academics and his position as a professor. And he was nervous about any possible blowback. But meanwhile, this guy is on Blue Sky, and he has maybe 40 posts a day, all politically leaning, all biased. And I wouldn't say biased, but he's got his leanings, and he's pretty brutal about what he says online. So that when he says he has an excuse of, well, this podcast on the other side of the state, I'm nervous about any possible blowback. And so he declined after a couple of days of thinking about it. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
How do you feel so free over in one medium, and then you're going to get all nervous Nelly on another? It doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. I was also going to tell you, you did get one individual so far that has completely agreed with you on your opinion of the Superman movie, which I find to be entertaining because she is.
History will prove me right.
You're probably not wrong, but my little sister Brittany decided that she was
How
going
old's
to.
little sister?
Oh, I don't know, 40. I think 40.
I was just, I was thinking maybe 12.
and and and
13.
and not, yeah, not really my little sister. We're just good friends. We used to work together, but she made a comment that said, not gonna lie, completely agree with Bill's opinion on the latest Superman movie. There were zero stakes in that, in the whole thing, which I'm gonna have to watch it again at some point to try and see if I see exactly what it is that you're seeing, because I felt like the movie was full of stakes, but I think you're talking more about how uh, I guess for the movie itself rather than the story that was trying to be told. And
I'm not sure what you're saying. I felt the story did not have
that's what I'm saying.
real grave
Oh,
stakes.
okay. Well,
I'm going purely on the story. I felt the story was extraordinarily weak. Even in the opening scenes when Superman was getting beat up and then he was being all fixed up by robots, I was like, yeah,
oh,
okay. You know, yeah, he really suffered there. You know, he
okay.
was able to whistle his dog to drag his ass over to Robot Hospital and get all mended. It's like, okay, that's something, I suppose.
I just felt, I did when I watched it, I did feel like there were a lot of things that were just sort of implied, as far as like they didn't. And again, I get that we've had what, 15 Superman movies and seasons of the Superman character through different iterations of television shows and whatnot, but so like we know who Superman is. I just, I find that it's probably difficult to create the Superman movie now, along with a lot of different superhero characters. I feel like it's probably difficult because we have so many assumptions that are already made about who this character is and how he does what he does, what his motivation is. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to just see where.
I think you've just run out of material and you're just trying to get me in the shit again. We covered and buried that topic weeks ago, and now you're just trying to stir the shit up so that I get all the hate online again. That is your job.
I'll just say this: Zach and I completely agreed with. And we discuss it in next week's episode. But Zach and I, Zach is a fan of Superman. Zach was concerned. Well, he wasn't concerned, but he was going to see the movie in spite of your opinion of the movie. But after watching the movie, he agrees with me that it seems like the Kent family probably needs to be in some sort of assisted living facility. That was the takeaway. Look, one of the crazy things that happened after our episode on Thursday was and I guess if you have any sense at all, you probably knew this was probably coming. CBS announced that the Late Show with Stephen Colbert would be coming to an end in May. This will be the end of the show. It's not that they're just firing Stephen Colbert; it's that they are literally doing away with the show completely. This is a show that David Letterman started after David Letterman was supposed to get the Tonight Show, or was in talks to get the Tonight Show, and then Jay Leno swept in under and got the show.
And you've heard what they're replacing it with too, right? I mean, that's probably the most outrageous part. That you haven't seen that article yet.
No.
So they have announced that starting in June of 2026, they're going to take that was an hour time slot, and they're going to use it as a Trump meme coin infomercial. I swear to you, that is what they said they're planning to do in order to get this deal with Skydance struck.
I'm just going to make this clear. I'm waiting for the phone call for them to bring our show onto CBS in replacement of the Late Show. That was where my joke was going.
Sorry, I completely stepped on that with a much better punchline. Won't let that happen again.
I can't let the. Look,
I'll tell you something funny though about Stephen Colbert. I have seen, because he is a native of South Carolina, and
Yes.
online I've seen people saying Stephen Colbert for governor, Stephen Colbert for Senate. They're trying to draft him to run for federal office or statewide office. What do you think about that?
Okay, so Robin Williams had a movie called Man of the Year came out a few years before his passing, which was a
Interesting
really,
fact. That's a Barry Levinson film, if I remember
I think
correctly.
it is. I think that is correct.
I believe Howard Stern was actually initially tapped for that role, but he
Really?
declined, and they went and got Robin Williams instead.
Well, it's a good movie, and
Yeah.
it turns out that at the end of it, that Robin Williams' election to the presidency was purely based on, I guess, bad voting machine count or something like that. I think in the end that was the outcome, and then but it was a TV show host that decided that he would run for president based on the pressure of people, telling him that he should, and so he did, and then he wins. Uh, but it was a good movie. Stephen Colbert, I think, is a less serious version of Senator Al Franken. Um, Al Franken had stepped away from I guess he had stepped away from the role of comedian for a while and then ran for Senate out of Minnesota, which he won. But I don't, he had an unsuccessful campaign, back in 2020,
Who's this?
2016, Colbert.
Did he actually
Col-
run? I didn't know that
yeah,
part.
well, he was only on the ballot here in South Carolina because ultimately he wanted to
Campaign
be
for what?
president.
Oh,
He wanted to be at the convention and have the state of South Carolina, nominates their son, the state son or whatever,
okay.
Stephen Colbert. Um,
So it was a gimmick for his show.
I think it was mostly a gimmick for a show, but he was legitimately
Yeah.
on the ballot. And while I don't fault him for wanting the promotional part of it, I don't know. I think, a good president surrounds himself with the people that are going to advise him in the right direction. And I think that it's possible that Stephen Colbert, with all of his connections, could potentially be the type of person that would have a cabinet and an administration that would potentially, lead them in the right direction. I mean, he is very faith based. He is very attached to his Catholicism. He is there has not been anything that has come out that has given me the impression that he is a bad person. He's a loving husband and a loving father.
When do we give up on wanting somebody to prove themselves in another elected position somewhere locally or along the line before jumping all the way to governor, Senate,
You're
president,
yeah,
right?
you're not wrong.
Like, if he wants to run for his town council or mayor of a small city or freaking dog catcher, I don't care. Where is there any evidence that you can work within a government bureaucracy, be effective, persuade people, get bills passed, make some change? Or do we just say, hey, you had a funny talk show with a lot of guests. Let's slap the governorship on your body there.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
We've just lost all expectations. The bar has been lowered so far. We're just tripping over it now.
Yeah. No, if Stephen Colbert were to come out and say, I want to run that I'm going to move back to South Carolina, the show's over, I'm moving back from New York to South Carolina, I am going to run for town council of Mount Pleasant, then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I think you're right. You start at that level. Because he's only 60.
But putting celebrities into those roles, that sounds like a very Republican thing to do. You had, Herschel
Reagan.
Walker being propped up to run for Senate in Georgia. You had Dr. Oz propped up to run for Senate in Pennsylvania. You had Trump himself, coming down the golden escalator right after recording a show with The Apprentice. Not literally, but, figuratively, he was a celebrity. And it should ruin the nation when you have very unqualified people in these positions.
Yeah.
But then somebody reminded me, how this is not, people say that we're in the matrix because there's just some things about reality that aren't working or aren't jiving or just they're so outside of what reality should be. You don't even think about it. To me, the Matrix moment is Ukraine and President Zelensky. Like, how is this not something everybody talks about every day? Before he became president of Ukraine, the very year before he became president of Ukraine, he was a comic actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he studied law, but then gave it up and went into acting. He was on a hit comedy TV series, lasted 2.5 seasons, about a guy who found himself, oddly enough, as president of Ukraine. That was the plot of his TV show. And then a year and after that, he became president of Ukraine.
Yeah.
To mirror that comedy TV show.
And there has not been an election since.
True. But it's just the most bizarre story in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't create a fictional novel that had a more implausible plot line than a guy who played a role in TV and then became, that's like House. The actor that became, that played House, and then next thing you know, he's the world's leading neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
After that show, without having gone through school, without any education.
Yeah.
He just went from TV role to the actual profession.
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris goes from being Doogie Howser to actually being a practicing medical doctor.
Yeah, or any of them, from police roles to firefighting roles. Any of these things. Michael Douglas going from West Wing to the presidency would be like the closest analog. I don't want Michael Douglas as my president.
Yeah.
He played a great one on TV, but I don't want Dr. Hank Pym being the president of the United States. What is that? But the fact that
in one.
Yeah, but the fact that happened in Ukraine, is just mind-boggling. And I've actually went ahead and secured that TV series that Zelensky was in, just out of pure curiosity. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my to-watch list.
I was
incredible.
Okay, is that where is that? I'll have to watch that too. Is it on Netflix or something, or?
I don't recall. I'll have to go find that out and get back to you.
Yeah,
but
I'm curious about that. I'd watch that. I'd give it its due.
Yeah,
but you're right. But Zelensky, like, I don't know what his, and I'd have to, again, this is something I'd have to look up and research. I'm not exactly sure when he got elected. How soon after his election was the initial when Crimea was taken over by the Russians. Like, that was back in 2014 or 2011, right?
No, it was during Obama's second term, I believe. So I think it was more like 2013, 14, but I could be wrong.
That was when Obama gave the red line, don't cross the red line. And then they did, and we didn't do anything. But I mean, we sent them weapons. So, but yeah, I'd be curious, because Zelensky now seems very presidential. And is it because he grew into that role over the course of the last 10, 11 years? And, or the fact that Russia's attack on Ukraine has really created this Zelensky, the president. I got to imagine that there's some historian somewhere has already written a book or will write books about Zelensky and his presidency and whatnot. It's curious. But yeah, I think as a whole, celebrities running for office like president or governor or anything like that, I think it's a bad idea. I agree. I think that Reagan went up through California politics. Like, I don't know where the bottom was that he started, but I know that he was in the legislature, and then he ran for governor, and then he ran for president. I don't know of any Reagan roles in movies or anything that prepared him for the presidency, but
I think the only thing more bizarre was Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor of California. Jesse the Body Ventura as governor of Minnesota.
You're not wrong.
They weren't terrible governors either, from what I recall. They were pretty effective, decent governors, but just so bizarre. I mean, two guys that were in the Predator movie became governors of states of this country. It's nuts.
I wanted to also ask you about, my mother made a comment. She said comedians are very smart, and that isn't untrue. I think that between Jon Stewart and Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, I commend them on the intelligence they have and how quick-witted they are. But I also am reminded that most of them have some of the highest paid writers that television and movies have ever seen. Also, I wanted to get your opinion on the fact that so Donald Trump doesn't like Stephen Colbert. Colbert makes jokes about Trump. Trump doesn't like him. Kimmel makes jokes about Trump. Trump doesn't like him. He made a comment in one of his tweets about Greg Gutfeld being the greatest comedian on television right now. Have you seen Greg Gutfeld's comedy? No.
No.
I would call it a stretch to say that it's comedy because
Go back and think about the main comics of our lifetimes, past 20, 40 years. And this is
Richard
going back to
Pryor.
your mother's comment. Which comic, which famous stand-up comedian would you want to most likely be, or would you like to see as president of this country? If you had to pick one, who would you have be president? Assuming your mother's premise is correct, that they're some of the smartest people out there. Okay, fine. Who would you throw into that Oval Office? Bobcat Goldthwait, just for the press conferences?
Well, he definitely press secretary. Who was the guy that played the seven words you can't say on television?
George Carlin.
George Carlin.
That is probably the most obvious choice in my mind, to have grumpy old. And this is later George Carlin that I'm after. I want the grumpy old man.
Yeah.
To be president of the United States, because he doesn't take any BS from anybody.
I just think George Carlin had the most intelligent view on what the state of politics, both about Democrats and Republicans at the time, but he had such a realistic observation of what was going on then.
Now he would have the Democratic nominee, obviously, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who would be the Republican nominee?
Oh, comedians?
Yeah. There's only one answer. It have to be Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby, yeah.
Yes.
Because he represents...
Bill Cosby. Correct.
Based on the court documents, he represents everything that the Republican Party stands for.
Yeah. He'd be on the Epstein list. He'd have all these accusations in court trials. I mean, he would be the perfect fit. You probably couldn't even... You wouldn't even miss a beat with Donald Trump out of office if Bill Cosby swooped right in. Also Mr. Family Values, Mr. I'm going to be holier than thou, and yet I'll be spiking women's drinks and sexually assaulting them. That would be the fit right there.
Yeah.
And let's end on that note.
Yeah. on that bombshell. I will say I was disappointed to hear about the loss of Jamal Warner.
Theo Huxtable. Yeah.
That is extremely disappointing, and I certainly feel for his family. I know that the details that I know are that they were on a family vacation to Costa Rica, and that he died in a drowning.
Yeah.
So that is.
I'm at the age now where the first thing I look for in any death announcement is how old was he?
Yeah.
And he and I were the same age. He was born a year earlier than me, but essentially the same age. And it's like, oh, that is too soon to be gone.
In spite of Cosby's recent past, I will just say I did enjoy watching the Cosby Show. I did enjoy different, the
I watched the Cosby Show. Did I enjoy watching it? I don't remember, guffawing out loud or being riveted to that screen, but it did pass the time. And it was a good show.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, if you haven't watched on Apple TV, there's a show called Stick with Owen Wilson and Mark Maron. Mark Maron, comedian, another guy that probably should run for office. Mark Maron is a fantastic comedian. But it's one of these shows that just it evokes different emotions. It's not just comedy, but the comedy makes it a little lighter. But you can sit there and watch the episode and go through a whole range of emotions. But if you haven't seen it yet, Stick on Apple TV is fantastic. I won't give any more details, so that when you start watching it and you're like, this is about golf, which golf is not my sport. So All right. Well, on that bombshell, I'm going to wrap it up. It's going to do it for this episode. Big thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber and Bill at politicalbillsc. You can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern. I had something else that I wanted to wrap this up with, and I can't remember did you see the
Octopus.
Yeah, it was octopus. But no, did you see how Donald Trump ended the gift or the greeting card that he sent to Epstein that has become the big drop for the post? Something about together in your friend in secrets or whatever.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later next time. But I think that's a good way to end episodes now.
I think we should sign off with thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, and thank you for your attention to this matter.